that a leader should take a decision. So leadership is not just a matter of taking decisions. It goes beyond that. A leader can take a very bad decision, or he can take a good decision that will not be implemented, or will not be implemented. So it requires that those who lead us have definite and defined goals, the attainment of which will be in the best interest of the community. Furthermore, leadership requires a thorough and up-to-date knowledge of the social, political, economic, and cultural, economic, ecological conditions, not only of the constituency one represents, but the country, but the world in general. The world is becoming interconnected, increasingly interconnected. Events cannot be treated in isolation. A leader in a small state might make a decision, or might make a pronouncement, take a decision or make a pronouncement that will have serious consequences, not only on a state, but the whole country in general. So leaders should weigh what they say and what they do, because we do not live in isolation. Whatever we do is, especially if you take a state like Katsina, which is a border state. Whatever happens in Katsina is likely to have effect on the Republic of Niger and vice versa. Also, we share historical experiences. In Maradi, Sarki na Kitran Kansa, Sarki Katsina Maradi. Go. Sarki Katsina. Because of the history, I will not go into the history. But I know that when the British took over, conquered Katsina, they asked Malam Katsina, Jajibirin Katsina, who should be made emir of Katsina. Initially, they said, go and bring an emir who was pushed out and was in Maradi. We were told that the colonialists have taken over that area, so it's no more part of Nigeria. But they had to get an emir. A vacuum should not be created. Second, Malam Dikko emerged. It has become the longest dynasty in Katsina, 100 years plus today. Now, leadership emerges as a result of struggle. If people are not deaf and dumb, they are capable of seeing what is happening in their own environment and also capable of taking decisions. This is what happened during the colonial period. Because of the struggle against colonialism, when the regime was born, there are people like Herbert Macaulay, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sa'ad Zulu, Obafemi Awolowo, Malam Dikko Umaru Radda, they all emerged to challenge the colonial order. But long before them, in this part of Nigeria, there are leaders who emerged, who talk a lot about leadership. When I was writing this paper, I came across a book which has quotations of Sheikh Usman and Muhammad Bello on leadership. I'll read one or two of them here. Laying the foundation, the basis for the jihad. Sheikh Usman said, one of the ways of their government, that is Sarakun and Kasam Hausa and Lukacha, that is before the jihad. So one of the ways of their government is the building of their sovereignty on three things. Three things. People's persons, their honor, and their possession. Mulki Kamakariya. One of the ways of their government, which is also well known, is that if you have an adversary in law, that's if you go to court, and he proceeds you to them and gives them some money, then your word will not be accepted by them. No matter how honest you are, whatever you say, they will not accept it. Some of the other guys are even though they know a certainty of your truthfulness, unless you give them money, unless you give them more than your adversary. In Nigeria, we know people who are going to give bribe, thinking that what they want will be done. The opponent will go and give more, higher. So we're told in the eastern part of Nigeria, judges will have three judgments kept, especially electoral cases. What judgment they give you depends upon how much you pay. It didn't start today. It was one of the reasons Usman used to justify the jihad in this area, in this part of Nigeria. Then he also went on to say that one of the ways of their government is lying, anyhow, treachery, and pride. And you cannot see one of them who does not give himself ears. And anyone who shows the least lack of respect for them, they punish you for that. These are the ills that afflict our society today, which led to that jihad, and which led to the emergence of a new system, the overthrow of the Sabon system, and the emergence of new dynasties, new systems in Hausa land. But the same show went on to say, God has not invested you with power. God has not given people power. They need a power that you may lord it over the subjects and dominate them. He has put you in authority only to foster their spiritual well-being. So give thanks to God. Give thanks to God's bounty to you and do good as he has done to you. Do not despair of his mercy for how woes he has dipped. Adage is extremely important. Milking Kama career is also not acceptable. But God will reward you for being just, and he has been just on several occasions, on all occasions. Now, what is governance? Those who have the paper will see that there are so many definitions of governance. So it's difficult to take one definition of governance. I've given many of them, as I saw in the literature. But what is common to most of them is that governance is anchored on three observable factors in any society, namely authority, decision-making, and accountability. These are the three factors on which governance is anchored. It is imperative, governance is imperative in any society. Without governance, there will be chaos. Once you have two people in a place, politics will set in. Because they all have their choices to make. Once people have their choices to make, either they compromise or you need somebody higher to take decisions and expect them to actually respect the decisions he has taken. So, any human group with an objective or desirous of accomplishing an outcome cannot ignore governance. Governance is preoccupied with who has power, who makes decisions, how other actors in society ensure that their voices are heard, and how account is actually rendered. A large portion of decision making responsibility of the institution so created is delegated to some members of the society. That is where appointment is extremely important. It has been argued that governance by nature may be intractable, may be unpredictable and fluid. It is tentative and complicated by the fact that it involves multiple actors, not a single leader. These actors articulate their interests, influence how decisions are made, who the decision makers are, and which decisions are taken. If you go around Katsina today, you hear names of those in government and outside government who influence decisions, of the leader. I don't have to mention names. That is why a leader has to be extremely careful. He may have the best of intentions, but he may not succeed if certain things are not taken into consideration. One is accountability. Two is the choice of people and the information actually getting to people. I cited the example of what is happening in America today. There's a war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. If you listen to CNN, BBC, and all these television stations, you think Russia is losing. Russia is losing the war. But actually, Russia is winning the war. They may end up taking a substantial part of Ukraine. Ukraine may even cease to exist. Western part may be part of Poland. Some part may be part of Hungary. But you would not hear this on BBC or CNN and go and the like. Now, even if that does not happen, Russia will certainly achieve its own objectives, despite the billions of equipment pumped into that country. It tells you two things before I come to this. One, it's a country with leaders that understand their challenges and are able to confront them. Some years back, Americans, politicized food export to Russia. Every year, Russia will go to America and beg to buy wheat. They go to beg and to buy wheat. America will impose conditions on Russia before they send the wheat. Now Russia today, when their leaders woke up, like our government says it's going to do, when their leaders woke up, they are the leading wheat producers in the world today, together with Ukraine. When European Union imposed conditions on them for the export of goats, they said, fuck it, we'll use our own scientists. They now are self-sufficient in goats. When they impose conditions on them for the export of cheese, they are now import of cheese. They are now producing their own. That is what leadership does. No country, like Erdogan said, no country can withstand what Russia is withstanding today, except that country, unless that country has good leaders, and leaders who know the direction and are able to mobilize their society to achieve the objective. The black thing I said, in Katsina State, we are facing serious crisis. Nobody can tell us we are not facing crisis. Many villages have been moved. We see them all over Katsina town. Agri is suffering. Pastoralists are difficult. There's no doubt about that. But out of adversity, comes, always, something that is extremely good. Provided we have good leaders. The first of social scientists will tell you that it's not always bad that you have crisis. But if you have crisis and you are able to understand the crisis, you'll be able to come out with a solution to deal with the crisis. That is what I understand our leaders are doing. That's why I said eventually we'll come out of it. And so far, we are human beings, we are people. Katsina is blessed with so many educated people. People who have been exposed. There are many states. So I'm absolutely sure we'll come out of it. Now, what is happening in the United States today, before I digress, in the intelligence agencies in the United States have been writing about the situation of the war in Ukraine. They have been writing. But what they are writing is not getting to the President of the United States. So the President is beating about the bush. What he's saying is not in tandem with reality at all. And so I think that is the reason one of them leaks those papers. And the petition in it tells you that one or two people, Anthony Blinken, Nolan, and Pope, have actually cornered the president. And all that the advisors are writing, the intelligence services are writing, is not actually getting to Mr. President. And so our governor should be aware of that. You may have the good intentions, but you may not, the good advice may not get to you because there are gatekeepers to government. It's not only. So you have to come up with devices to ensure that you know what is happening. Sometime back, the federal government created the Economic Intelligence Unit, which is not part of the ministry. That intelligence is what, and I was made a member of that committee. That's how I got to know what is happening. We report directly to the president. So what do? After the budgets would have been passed by the National Assembly for maybe a road construction, we wait, that is the rule, until maybe half of the money has been released to the contractors. And we have consultants who will tell us that if the money has been released and they are mobilized, in 6 months, this is what you should see if you go to that place. We don't even take them by surprise. If you pick a road to inspect, we'll tell the ministry in charge that we are going to inspect this road or this project or whatever. Wallahi, I can tell you, since from the beginning to the end of my term, 99% of the projects have not been executed, and monies have been collected in Nigeria. When we started writing our reports, Jonathan had become the president of Nigeria. His chief of staff said, "Can't you people be creative? We are supposed to meet the president and tell him that, sir, we paid this money for this road, it has not been done. We paid this money for this road, it has not been done," and so on and so forth. He said we should be creative. What does that mean? To lie? To say it didn't happen? And when I came back, maybe I told my colleagues, if you don't have good heart, strong heart, don't accept this kind of punishment. I can tell you, in this country today, if you elect a president, and the president says, "I'm not going to initiate any project whatsoever," what I'm going to do, my preoccupation will be, my priority will be to complete abandoned projects. Well, I say, this I can tell you. This is in many states, in some states, it's like that also. Project is started by one governor. He hasn't finished. Another governor comes to Ashia combination. This is reality. Now, one of the things that really shocked me, one day we were watching the television, Katsina television. The Minister of Works came to Katsina. You know that bypass, that road, the bypass. The Minister of Works came. He was talking with the contractor. He was saying, "Will you do this in your own country?" He said, "Let me explain." He said, No. I'm asking, will you do this in your own country? The more the man tried to explain, the more the minister would not allow him to talk. So we saw it on television. So the secretary of the committee and the chairman said we should go in and investigate, find out why is it that this project was not completed. We invited the Ministry of Works. They came with their consultants. The consultants taken by government, the contractors, the government. We found out that the contractors were meeting all the terms of the contract. They met all the terms of the contract. The ministry has kept on changing the design. The design. Virtually every director or every council company, they will change the design. The contractor will have to do it. The contractors, but in the contract, they can also ask for penalty for that. But because they want to put relations with the government, they were not doing it. So if the minister was threatening to actually cancel the contract, when we go through it, then I asked them, did the minister know the implication of canceling the contract? That federal government will have to compensate these contractors in hundreds of millions of naira for the work done for breaking the contract. They said he knew. I said, why is he saying that this contract should be cancelled? They told me he want the contract cancelled, federal government pays the contractors, and he will award the contract at 10 times the cost, the original cost, so that he can make his own cut. And you can see that one has still not been completed. And I think even armed robbers are taking over the place. That is the reality of the situation today. So leadership is extremely important in a country. Now, we have been trying to deal with this issue of leadership. We are trying to deal with this situation since the Second Republic. Shagari came out with ethical revolution. So he said, what did he say before he appointed the ethical revolution? He says, Nigeria has a value deficit. Which became evident through the attitude and behavior of Nigerians, high and low, but especially the attitude of ruling elite and other leaders whom the president accused of being so materialistic and to whom nothing mattered except money. Then he set up the Indako Commission. The report of the commission said, people performed their various duties poorly and got away with it without being penalized. They said corruption and indiscipline have become all-pervasive, afflicting every stratum of Nigerian society, beginning with the ruling elite, swelling to all cadres of public servants, including staff of the judiciary, the entire national educational and school systems. Corruption, indiscipline were commonplace in private sector at the boardroom level among top executives. When General Buhari intervened before he became President Buhari, look at what he said to justify his coup. And I'll read it and ask you what it is in Nigeria today. Look at what Buhari said. I will listen to what Buhari said. General Buhari said, while corruption and indiscipline have been associated with our state of underdevelopment, these two events in our body politic have attained unprecedented heights in the past few years. That is General Buhari talking about. The corrupt, inept, and insensitive leadership in the last 4 years, that's a Shagari's regime, in the last 4 years, has been the source of immorality and impropriety in our society. Since what happens in any society is largely a reflection of the leadership of that society, we deplore corruption in all its facets. The government will not tolerate kickback, inflation of contracts, over-invoicing, and over-invoicing of import. Finally, he said, it is true that there is worldwide economic recession. However, the case of Nigeria is in part aggravated by mismanagement. The situation could have been avoided if the legislators were alive to their constitutional responsibilities. Instead, the legislators were preoccupied with determining their salary scales, fringe benefits, and unnecessary foreign travels, which took no account of the state of the economy and the welfare of the people they represent. I challenge you to read it again and tell me whether things have changed since General Buhari made that speech, even under him. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We thank you very much, the presenter. Before the discussion, please, my attention has been drawn to a mistake I made by calling His Excellency as the 10th governor overall. He's actually the 11th governor. So I feel obliged to the people who brought that to my notice. I forgot about Akagigi, maybe because of the difficulty in pronouncing his name. We are now called on the first discussant, who should please also take as little time as possible to make his presentation.
Mr. Chairman, of Katsina State, His Excellency Masai, ably represented here, because when someone has stayed in such a step as this one for the same time, I would also like to seek the indulgence of the chairman to pray for the incoming democratically elected governor of our state, Malam Dikko Umaru Radda. We wish him even greater success than his own predecessor. Just as I also want to assure him that we will be coming not just to greet him, but to also be telling him about some of the key issues that affect our own university. The speaker has done justice to his 18-page paper. He has demonstrated the appropriateness of today's theme, which is effective leadership, good governance, and challenges of development, taking the Nigerian experience. It is not in doubt, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, that if we don't get the question of who should be leading us, then forget about this country, and we don't want to forget about it. If you recall, the speaker has drawn attention to how leadership can propel the development of nations, and at the same time, how failure of leaders can also spell, its own doom. So he has outlined why it is imperative to have good leaders, why it is imperative to have, good, governance. Also, he has discussed on this key issue, of, leadership, and he brought our attention to the fact that there are important lessons that we can learn from the experiences of what great leaders have done in the past. He mentioned local leaders, national leaders, and even international leaders. Sardauna, for example, Danfodio before him, and even other contemporary leaders. And if we can borrow even from what Danfodio has said, if the affairs of our people are given to those who are least deserving of them, then expect the day of the judgment. Meaning it is a sign of the end of times that unless and until you have leaders whom you can trust, then there's no way you can really, advance. إذا وصل الأمر إلى غير أهلها فانتظروا الساعة. Not only this, the speaker has drawn our attention in about 4 pages about the political developments that have unfolded in this country, right from the pre-colonial periods, then coming to the colonial period, then coming to the First Republic, to the military era, to the Second Republic, and till today. What lessons are we going to get from the discussion of these important historical developments that have been outlined by the speaker? The lessons to learn from there is that, Your Excellency, you have to look back and decide what is it that has led to the successes of those leaders in the past that have succeeded, and what is it that catapulted them into failure, and avoid those pitfalls that have already run those government down. Unless and until we are able to do this, then we have not paid serious lessons to the question of history. And I believe the academic, the political antecedents of the incoming governor are very much adequate to preparing for the great task to learn not only from the lessons of the past, but to also bring in his own ideas in order to share the affairs of our own state. Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, the speaker has also drawn attention to the nature, basis, and implications of a number of serious contemporary challenges, which pervade at all levels of society. The devastation that was civil war, the collapse of infrastructure, NEPA, NITAL, and what have you, from page 10 to 12, and so on and so forth. And even more worrisome, these contemporary challenges has even become more compounded, today. The speaker enumerated two major, issues. One, security. He told us that, look, security has become so central and it has become so much manifested and it has had serious devastating consequences on our own lives in this particular, country. And has clearly outlined why is this so. Not only this, the speaker has drawn attention to the question of what is it that we must do in order to ensure that at the end of the day we have sustainable peace, not only in Nigeria in general and Northwest in particular, but even in this Katsina state, in particular. And at this point in time, he drew attention to what is it that must be done in order to put up mechanisms that should be of great interest in mitigating the major crisis that has been generated, by insecurity. The consequences are so obvious: monumental loss of life, property, displacement, palpable fear of criminality becoming the norm, or even banditry, insecurity becoming the most profitable business in place, as well as posing serious threat to our corporate existence and our political stability, as a nation. So the task has been clearly emphasized by the speaker that we have to really put mechanisms that should enable us, to check on this disaster. And it is our collective hope that with the experience and with the preparedness of his incoming, excellency, he will be in a position to make things better, so that at least we will be able to have a peace and prosperous state in general. Not only this, I think at this point in time, it may not be out of place, to suggest maybe government can consider developing or carrying out a very, very comprehensive and multifaceted study that will not only understand the basis, the dimensions, the implications, but also the strategic responses that need to be put in place in order to mitigate insecurity on a sustainable basis. In this particular regard, we know that the author of this paper, Dr. Sadiq Abu Muhammad, is well grounded in this. He has carried out so many researches that deals, with the subject matter. And Your Excellency, maybe will also assure the speaker that Musa University will partner with the speaker in trying to come up, with those kind of studies that should help the administration in propelling this particular state so that we can have maybe the last issue that we should try to talk about is the question of corruption. Corruption has almost become, the norm. And I think the author has really done justice to this important thing. However, I like to really emphasize that more often than not, we always emphasize on corruption in the high places, even though, of course, it is the most devastating. But I like us, to also think and to ponder and reflect that corruption has become almost the norm, and we must be ready, each and every one of us, at individual level, at group level, at societal level, at whatever level, to work to confront the particular, master. Just if you take your money, you want to buy tomatoes from anybody, you know what to expect. If you wear your very big gown, you go to a place, you know what to expect. Everybody has more order to become corrupt in one way or the other. So that at the end of the day, we can only talk about the degree, of corruption. I think this must, take into consideration, so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to address the problem. After all, more often than not, they say leadership is a reflection of the larger, society. Ultimately, addressing the numerous challenges of leadership, of development, of different, vices, that are inflicted, on our own society, is a collective responsibility. And I like to believe that if everyone could put effort and decide to do the needful, I believe we can, move forward. As the author has stated clearly in his own paper, don't expect angels from the skies, or don't expect magic to come and solve our own problems. Our problems are our problems. We must devise collective mechanisms so that we can address those fundamental, challenges. Once more, because time is of essence, I like to use this opportunity to congratulate, the incoming, governor, of Katsina State, and wish him well in steering the affairs of our nation. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Please. So, Alhamdulillah, you are reminding us of what we were about 40-something years ago. But please, hold on. At the end of it, you'll have all the time to shout with your heads out. Now, Alhamdulillah, a clear picture is emerging of what the perception of what leadership is and how it relates to Nigeria. And at the same time, also relating it to really the outcome of policies and action by governments. We will have more of it, as I call the next speaker, whom I know to be an anti-corruption czar from you know where. I don't have to tell the incoming government where this man comes from. And the fact that he is what he is means that anybody from that environment is of like minds. So with this, may I please call on Professor Radda. You are there already. Oh, thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Chief Judge of Katsina State, the Executive Governor of Katsina State, represented the Governor-elect, my brother, my leader, the Deputy Governor-elect, the Chairman of the occasion, my brother, my elder, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I am a discussant. My job has been made easy, but if there were time, I would have made it complicated. Since we don't have time, I will request the university can organize another lecture. I'll be back with the presenter so that we trash this very important issue. We don't have time now. Notwithstanding that, Mr. Chairman, I have read the paper. It has a total of 9 sections. And I have decided to adopt 4 approaches. The topic. Is the topic in harmony with the content? That's number 1. Number 2, has the author truly addressed the issues that should be addressed in the paper? Is another issue. Number 3, there are quite a number of issues he has mentioned which I have disagreement upon. We don't have time to debate them. But there are many issues he has mentioned which are taken for granted, which we all know, and I've agreed with them. But there are things that I feel should have been in the paper and that they left out. 4 major issues, and I'll quickly address them. The topic, I'm happy he modified the topic because the earlier topic was talking of effective leadership, good governance, the Nigerian challenges and the Nigerian experience. And the first query I gave was, he is talking of desirability for effectiveness, while in fact, Nigeria and Katsina State is in need of efficiency. There is a world of difference between effectiveness and efficiency. Efficiency, with the purposes of clarity, is where you achieve a lot using small resources. From 2015 to date, a lot has been done by some ministries, departments, and agencies of government to achieve a lot using little resources. Before the coming of this government, there was effectiveness. There was ineffectiveness. Ineffectiveness is where you achieve goals using too much time, too much energy, too much resources. So I felt that the presenter should make sure that he draws a line between effectiveness and efficiency. Secondly, if you look at the whole gamut of the paper, it is centered on leadership, good governance. But look at the narrative given on good governance. Very elaborate, very good, very academic. However, good governance does not mean good governance. I want you to go to the paper from page 4 up to the end. You will see he has made very good presentation on governance itself, but not good governance. And there are many, many models of good governance. The next one, which I feel should have been squarely addressed, is the issue of current challenge. I thought he's going to bring it down to the Katsina realities. What we have seen in the last 8 years, what we should see from tomorrow, so that people will know there is now a new sheriff in town, there is a world of difference, there is no going to be business as usual. It is in this regard that I feel some issues can be addressed as follows. You see, many a times we demonize politics and politicians, even though politics and politicians produce our leaders. Many a times people will say, after elections, some people who are not qualified are given positions. But the fact of the matter is, people who feel are qualified, they have refused to take part in the entire political process. So it is my imagination, frankly speaking, if you know you have integrity, come to the political atmosphere and test your integrity. By the time you sit in the comfort of your house, your office, you are watching everything on television, and then after winning election, they have to look, Ogwale has gone throughout the state and his team. Now you want a situation where, because you are qualified conceptually actually, and many of the people who pretend they are qualified, they are competent, they have integrity, give them opportunity, they prove otherwise. So we have come, Nigeria has come full circle. If you want to have these positions, please come and take part in the political process. Nobody says you must contest, but you can take part at your work level, local government, federal, state. You can't just sit at the secretariat of the union and keep making noise that wrong people are put. And if you are right one, join the process. And if you say that they don't have ideology, who will make it ideological? You have to come and take part and make it ideological. I am in APC because I know it has some ideological leaning towards welfare. Somebody is in PDP because it's capitalism. So the two are different. Since they are different, come and join, let us perfect it. But don't sit elsewhere and think, so we are in political process. Please, let us help our leaders to actualize the campaign promises they made. I was thinking that my presenter will say the governor-elect made series of promises. His team and everybody that is going to come on board should key into what he has promised. The next one, which I find missing is that we seem to concentrate too much on the governor himself. We are forgetting that in Katsina State we have 3 arms of government. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. And we must be charging them. When we are fighting corruption, everybody was concentrating on the federal government. But governors control over 48% of the revenue allocation in the country. But fighting corruption as if it's the business of the federal government, state governors, local government chairmen are left off the hook. So we are saying concentrate on federal government, concentrate on the state and local governments. In the state, concentrate on the governor, concentrate on the assembly and the judiciary, and concentrate on the private sector. Much of the corruption taking place in Nigeria takes place much more in the private sector. You know, a lot of resources are lost in the private sector. Now, the other issue I feel hasn't been properly addressed, of course, yes, totally, is these failures we are experiencing over the years. I agree with him totally. Failure of leadership didn't start today, but then why do we expect a situation where somebody who's going to take over tomorrow will change everybody in the next 8 years? When in fact our families have failed, our schools have failed, our religious sector has failed. That is why many a times when Matthew Hassan talks, it's Bangladesh to me. Because if somebody like him who is a religious man has not been able to control the attitude of people, tell me how he will expect perfection from a president that is spending 8 years. Matthew Kuka has been in the religious sector for over 40 years. If everybody has been there, he's more serious failure. So if in Nigeria today, and in Katsina State today, there are failures in our political leaders, yes, we should hold them responsible, but let us also hold our parents, let us hold our teachers, let us hold also our religious leaders. You can't expect a governor of 8 years, to perform the magic that your parents. If your parents can go and buy fake results for you, then how do you complain? How will you blame the governor? Or how will you blame the commissioner? Or how will you blame the assembly? If there is wanton stealing in your mosque, your imam has stolen your money. Somebody who knows Allah and Subhanahu and Muhammad Rasulullah more than you, tell me why you should blame any political leader. So we should ask the right questions. Yes, I am not in any way saying that we should spare our political leaders, but let's go beyond them. It's not enough to always concentrate on people who have elective and appointed positions. Yeah, yes, they should be held accountable, but there are many other people that should be held accountable. Now, Mr. Chairman, because of lack of time, I have a lot to say. I will crave the indulgence of the organizers to call us one day and we will discuss more. I have read the paper, but all said and done, I am frankly convinced that we are here to fulfill all righteousness. Every one of us here knows what to do and knows what not to do. We can always pretend. That is why I have always said that Nigerians lack integrity. We come here, make a lot of noise, we write a lot, we say a lot, but in practical terms, what we say is not in our hearts. It is this lack of integrity that we need to question and bridge the gap. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, you are not on the program, so please, while we appreciate what you are doing and you should do it, but please take as little time as possible. Now, we have heard the speaker, we have heard the discussants. I have my own views on the paper itself. I got it this morning and I read it. And I think I have my own critique, which I will say after, in the course of rounding up. And at the same time, I will take the opportunity to give some little advice, or few advice, to the incoming governors. But for now, as I've said, it's supposed to be interactive, albeit within the time we have. So we can allow about 3 people to ask questions. If you don't have, then we can round up. And for that, I think we'll have one person from the extreme right, one from the extreme center, and one from the extreme left. And then if we still have a little bit, because we said it to 1 o'clock, I think we have just about 20 minutes. Then please ask your question. I also need a little time to round up and maybe prepare on this. So on this side, yeah, okay, please, you will, yeah, just stand up for now. Okay, and yeah, who wants to ask question here? Nobody? Oh, you want to do? Just stand up. So just stand up a little bit. No, stand up. So that, and here, any lady? Nobody. Okay, so there go. Okay, so please, these are the 3 people. No, okay, we will come to you. We will come to you. Let the 3 people ask. Now you ask the question, and then if you are asking the lead speaker, say so. If you are asking any of the discussants, say so. And what you will do, please make a note of it. You will make a note of it, and you will be given time to. Please mention your name and then just the question briefly.
Assalamu alaikum. Sunana Sabitu Muhammad Hayati. Ina son yi bayani da Hausa.
Bayani a tambaya da Allah. Amma dai
dan abin da zan faɗa is very important.
To kai da Hausa ko Turanci kai ce
zan yi da Hausa.
To yayi.
Jama'a assalamu alaikum. Abin da nake so in bada shawara ga sabon gwamna mun akan challenge din da muke kai. Yanzu lokaci ne ba lokaci na abin da ake ce makaman wasanni ba lokaci ne kuma abin da ake ce makaman biki ba lokaci ne kamar wanda ake ce ma a yi zuwa a yi hira a tashi. Lokacin da ake ciki a yanzu a duniya lokaci ne na wo ake yi a yanzu, kuma jihar mu tana ƙarƙashin wo ne. Ina son in ba mai girma gwamna shawara ya san wannan abun, ya san akan wannan abin da ake. Wo din da muke ciki akwai international, akwai national, akwai local. To ina ba da shawara, tunda an ce ba bayani za a yi da yawa ba, ina ba da shawara. Na san shi jajirtacce ne kuma tsayayye ne, kuma ya nemi mutane wanda suke mutane, saboda duk kasashen da ake magana ana ɗaukar mutane ne guda 3. Akwai mutumin da ba farfesa bane ba, amma zai bada abin da wannan farfesan ya bada. Akwai malamin da masallaci yake bada amma zai bada abin da haka. Akwai talakan da yake ƙauyen da ba hanya a cikinsa, amma zai bada abin da president ya bada. To ina ba shi shawara daga gobe ya canza mayan shi gabaki daya, ba hira ce a gaban mu aka zina ba, tun daga shekara 8 har ya zuwa yanzu, har ya zuwa abinda muke kallo nan gaba, kamar abinda farfesa Radda yake faɗa. To ina fatan wannan shawara tawa za ta shiga kunnen mutane wanda suke kusa da shi, su sani muna cikin wani yanayi wanda ya kamata mutane su tabbatar an tsaya. Kuma Allah ya ba mu shi matashi, kuma mai natsuwa, mai hankali, mai tunani, kuma kowa ya kuma muna son mu tsaya shi da addu'a. Allah ya ba shi karfin gwiwa, kuma wannan lokaci da Allah ya kama, Allah ya sa mu gama lafiya, Allah ya taimake mu. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. So, bismillah, bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Chairman of the occasion, Governor-elect, Deputy Governor-elect, my Lord, other respected members, good afternoon everyone. We have listened to the paper presentation. My name is Yakubu Nanja, and I want to commend the organizers of this very important occasion. So also to commend the presenter of the paper. It's a very lucid presentation. However, some comments were made, and I want to align with the last discussion with regard to your paper, that there are some challenges with regards to leadership. And you made mention that leadership is a collaborative effort, which everyone needs to key in. It's not about the head or the leader himself, his disciples as well. Your paper did not lucidly mention what are the responsibilities of the disciples. So also, with regard to the collaboration needed, what are the elements with regard to some of the dispute resolutions you made mention? There are resolutions in disputes with regard to governance that you have mentioned. Some of them may be avoidable. Some you cannot avoid, but you have to take it. You did not mention in the solutions of how these solutions will be provided for the leaders and the disciples to be able to have a lasting solution to these problems.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. After that, then we will get the students. Yeah, but one or two, please. We have to. One student, only one person. One, please. The time is running out. No, wait. When he finishes, we get the student.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. My name is Kabir Abdullahi Entumaki. Looking at the picture, the economic picture of Katsina State, as the governor-elect gets ready to assume the leadership in this state, he will be confronted with multidimensional problems, ranging from huge debt service repayment, which in Naira form amounts to over 86 billion Naira, 86 billion Naira. And considering what the presenter has said concerning corruption and more, now the question is, how will corruption, because if you do not tackle the corruption, you have more resources going out where they do not deserve to go. And it means the set objectives will not be achieved. The critical question is, how would that corruption be addressed, tackled in such a manner that the incoming governor will have more ample opportunity in terms of resources to execute the promises he has made during his campaign tour? And again, if someone is caught diverting public funds, what appropriate measures is designed? What stick should be used to punish or to see that errant is made bear the consequences of his action? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Please, just one student. One. Yeah, okay, yeah. Please, can you take it to him? Now, we still have no, that's all, after him. Yeah, that's it, please. You see, we still have one important program. one important act, please, that's it. Give it to him, yes, please. Go on. I hope you are a student, are you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go on.
Firstly, my name is Ambassador Suleiman Jajibirin from the Department of Public Administration, Faculty of Social and Management Science. So, let me just talk now, sir. Ranka shi daɗe mai girma, ina jihar Katsina, Dr. Dikko Umaru Radda. Wannan ba na zo bane ba wani observation ko question. Abin na farko da zan ce muna godiya wa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala da ya ba mu kai a matsayin gwamna mu na jihar Katsina. Sai na biyu, ba wai mun raina bane ba kuma ba mu so ba, amma muna roƙon alfarma scholarship a taimaka a ƙara. Ita ce matsalar mu wallahi ba. Ita ce babban matsalar mu. Taliya ta ƙara kuɗi ba lokacin da kuka ƙara scholarship saboda ruwan godiya taliya 170 take amma taliya naira 300 take ba. Kuma yanzu ga shi komai ya ƙara ba a taimaka ƙara wannan alfarma. Allah ya taimaki baba wazirin Katsina baba Ida. Humble leader with righteousness and popularity, undefeated. Sky is your limit. God who lifted you up will not let you down.
Thank you. I am already reached my own limit, please. Oh, I am reaching my own limit now. It is now for the likes of the governor now. Now, I would ask, listen, please. We'll now ask the lead speaker to respond. Apparently, I think what she will say will suffice, because we will have His Excellency to speak. Then if he has anything, he will do so. After he has spoken, I will round up in about 1 or 2 minutes, and then we now get the man of the moment to come and speak.